What is up, everybody? Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast coming back at you, episode 82. Hey, I did put that up on the side there so I can see that. 82. I am Caleb from the Old Pass. Along beside me, my partner Josh, the Bama Jaybird.
That's me.
Just two old guys hanging out, talking, having a good time. Hope y'all are
Always,
doing
always.
well. Yeah. It's been snowing here and it's starting to melt and it's cold. It's actually not as cold as it was though, but it's still cold. It's normal cold now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There you go. Yeah, it's definitely been different. But the temperature I think could have been lower here. That wasn't the problem. But yeah, the ice and the snow, we're not used to getting a lot of that. So it's kind
No.
of fun, kind of not fun at the same time. In Alabama, we rarely get snow that you can do a whole lot with. Ours was more ice and sleet than it was snow. And what little bit of snow we had because of all the sleet, it kind of just got swallowed up. But it was still fun for the kids, especially. I remember being a kid. That's always when it's the most fun.
Oh yeah. Our kids got out and man, oh man, they got on the four wheelers and Logan, he's the one that loves he's got a little Honda four wheeler and it's not a sports four wheeler, like a racing type. I don't know what you really call it, but it's a
Yeah.
utility four wheeler, but it's geared more on the side of the fun four wheeler. And he got out and he was spinning and sliding and slinging stuff. And I mean, just having a good time. And Tanya's like, he's going to wreck and kill himself. I'm like, at least he'll land in snow, not
You're
rocks
not
and
gonna
gravel
miss.
and
Yeah.
pavement. At least it's snow and he'll have a soft landing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but actually, I made a video. I couldn't believe the kids let me do this, but like I took off on the mule. They were down there on the road riding back and forth. One was pulling one on a makeshift sled, and the other one was riding a four wheeler. So I took off down through there and I picked one up and she was riding me around and I was filming and they just letting me film. They never asked questions. They never said anything. I'm filming the whole thing. And then when I popped the video up last night or was it last? Yeah, last night. I walk in the house. I said, "You guys ready to watch your YouTube debut?" And they're like, "What? You did not put us on YouTube." I said, "What'd you think I was doing with that camera the whole time? What'd you think I was doing?" And I got them about 15 minutes worth of stuff of them riding around. We went back in the woods. We did a whole bunch of just fun. I put it
Yeah.
right at the end and I told everybody what it was. And if you don't like that stuff, just skip it. But if you like it, there it is. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
I
We.
put out 2 videos this week. What is
I
up with
know. I saw that. That's two more than I put out.
it? That's 2 more
Um,
than I put out in the last 2 months.
man, I I feel bad. Me and Casey were talking about it. I feel you kind of um, you kind of get to that point. I mean, I felt like I was building a little momentum, but at the same time, it's so hard sometimes. We got so much going on, man, and it just is what it is. It's hard to get quiet time right
Yeah.
now. Hard to get alone time to do anything like that. But it all comes together eventually. Um, but yeah, I was proud of you. I saw both those pop up on my notifications. I thought, man, he's working hard this week.
Well, the one, I really wanted to do the one after we was talking about that. I was like, I need to do one. And I think it was like Thursday or when, I don't know, whatever day it was. And I was like, I got a little bit of time because I'd done like 30 drafts and I'm like, I'm way ahead. I'm good on that for a little while. I could take a few minutes and make a video. So I made the one. And
Mhm.
then I had an intro and a topic already filmed for another one. And Tanya said, "You ought to go down there and video the kids." And I did. And I was like, I got another video now. So I threw it together real quick.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. But they're doing okay. They're not, hey, everybody go watch them. That'll help. But they're doing okay. But the kids had a lot of fun. It was a pretty snow here. Like one of our local meteorologists called it a postcard snow.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that time it was wet enough that you could really work with it and make snowmen and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't like so wet that it was just like slush everywhere.
Hmm.
Like packed down pretty good on the roads. And it's just till today. It's still in the shady spots, still hanging out. But man, Logan done his part to take it off rode out in front of the house. I'll just say that he was out there. Oh man, all kinds of stuff.
One of the things, my favorite things when it snows here is when you are able to get out. Like I said, it tends to stay in the shady areas, and this is very rural. And Alabama, we do have farmland around here and like pasture land, but there's a whole lot of still like wooded areas. But whenever it snows, it's really cool in the wintertime because you can see so far back up into like up into the woods, and kind of actually see the landscape and how the hills roll. That's beautiful because we don't get to see that around here a lot. I mean, I know y'all get snow much more often in your area, so you've probably, seen that a lot in your lifetime. But, we're lucky if we get it every 2 or 3 years, get to kind of get that, like I said, almost that postcard picture of just the wooded scene,
Yeah.
So I always enjoy that. That's always just a beautiful sight when you're not accustomed to seeing it regular.
Yeah. Ours is so weird. One year you might get 2 or 3 snows, couple inches. We hardly ever get more than 2 or 3 inches of snow at a time. But you might get a couple of inches of snow. You might get 2 or 3 of those a year. You might end up with 4 or 5, but you might, we've had years we had like 1 light snow dusting. It's Tennessee weather is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
It's some of the, I mean, honestly, like today, it's up to 40. The other day it was 25. Tomorrow it might be 70. That's just the way Tennessee rolls,
Well, and I mean, in general, I think I think we discount just where we live sometimes,
Yep.
A lot of people want to put labels on all this stuff, but I would always tell folks, and I'm not an expert. I haven't spent, countless hours studying this, but if you go back, you look at some of the charting historically of temperatures, there's anomalies all over the place. I mean, like major snow events and major Arctic blasts, like here this far south. I mean, it's not something that happens often. They want to tie, you hear a lot about, the global warming and things like that. And whether I told my brother the other day, I said, you can't argue with statistics. So, I mean, you can see there's a trend that the average temperature over time, right, since it's been tracked, has slowly went up. But at the same time, it's like we attribute all these different things like a weather pattern. But if you go back and look at it historically, for the last 150 years, when they've been documenting a lot of this stuff, these things have happened sporadically anyway. And it has a lot to do with the ocean currents. Of course, we know about El Nino, La Nina, and stuff like that, and how that impacts the jet streams, and how, I guess I need to leave that alone. I'm getting too far, but all those things are impacted, and small changes in positioning can alter completely, where certain types of weather patterns occur in our country or anywhere else in the world for that matter. So,
I was watching something the other day, like a Facebook reel or something, and it showed a country. It might be like Iceland or whatever, the North Pole or the South Pole. In those areas, there's a country that like only gets dark for like 2 months a year or something. It's dark 2 months out of the year, and the rest of the time it's always light. Have you ever seen that?
The real no.
You know what I'm talking about, though.
Well, I mean, I know the further you go north or south, that's the gig. I mean, it affects the way, the length of days, the length of seasons. I mean, they have they have places in Alaska where it's like that, where they'll have 24-hour darkness, for a period, and 24-hour light for a period. You go far enough north.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I was watching, it was like light for like 4 months straight, and then it'd be dark for a couple months straight. And it's like, that would be a wild way to live right there.
Yeah. Yep. But I mean, you just think about it, the Earth's kind of tilted on its axis. I guess I'll do it like this, and it looks better to me when I'm looking at myself on the camera, but, tilted on its axis. And, you think about how light comes through your window. You know what I mean? If you had like a light bulb or something, set up, if you tilted away from like the stuff at the bottom, it wouldn't matter like how it rotated. In certain places, it would never get any light. And that's what it really comes down to. It's those angles. There's that slight tilt. And if you get far enough, right, then there's going to be times when you're completely shielded, times when you're completely exposed, no matter what the situation is. It's just that you stay there.
You think if everybody scooted to one side, we might straighten the Earth up? Or?
I have no idea, man. You get. I mean, there's so much to know that we don't know. Seriously, I mean, I know that's not going to happen, but I mean, you really think about it though. You really think about this thing, and well, for one, you're kind of going flat earther there on me, to one side and cause it to tilt. but I guess technically we could all migrate to one side, and it would still be, even though it's round, you know what I mean? Like if you attach a weight to one side of a round ball, it's still going to influence how the ball sets. So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe I don't know, but that's an interesting thought.
Flat earthers. Two old
Yeah.
guys, flat earth.
No, not two. Not this
Leave
guy.
that alone.
Not this
Oh,
guy.
me neither. Me neither.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How in the world did we
Hey, it is what it is. Talk about weather.
weather?
It goes everywhere.
Well, when you're this busy, it's good to sleep, get rested up. And I had a dream that I was eating a giant marshmallow. I mean, when I woke up, my pillow was gone. I just thought I'd drop that in right there on you, buddy. Right then, right there.
Mm. Even though it's a joke, I'm not surprised you'll be dreaming about food. Just. Oh man,
that's nice. Thank you for that.
Oh man. So anyway, how about a little bit of reselling information? So I'm curious in the comments what folks think about this merger that's taking place between eBay. I say merger; it's not really a merger, but this partnership between eBay and Facebook Marketplace. And I guess from what I've been able to read up on it, I know there's a lot of videos out. Sorry to all the resellers that's posted those that I haven't watched, though I did see the titles. But from what I can understand from reading about it, it's basically that Meta has allowed this to take place basically, and eBay is always angling for opportunities to try to increase visibility, and so they've got this partnership worked up where eBay listings are going to be displayed in Marketplace, and from my understanding, it's going to allow those that want to buy. Of course, you can already buy on Marketplace from some sellers and have things shipped to you. So that's not something new. But you won't be buying from Marketplace to buy those. It's like some of the other advertisements that pop up on Facebook or on Marketplace. You'll be redirected somewhere else. And so, for eBay, of course, you'll be redirected back to eBay to complete the purchase and everything. But it gets more eyes on products. I think they said they're starting in Germany and the United States, France, and maybe Australia. It's like 4 countries that they started. I think it was January the 8th is when this kind of the beta time of it, I guess. But it looks like it's going to go down. And I feel like this about it myself. Again, I'm interested to know what people think in the comments. I feel like with anytime you're selling stuff, the more eyes you get on it, the better. So I don't see how I don't see how it could be bad for us. I'm almost also a little interested, I think, in we mentioned this before the show, kind of the thinking behind eBay, and I'll throw this out there. I was telling you, and I don't know if anyone else sees this or not in the actions of eBay, but eBay still, I mean, it's a huge player in the reselling marketplace, of course, right? I know there's we got all these major. I mean, it's not bigger than Amazon. Go look at the pure numbers, but
Right.
Amazon kind of the specialty is a little different. And that could be said for any reselling site. But if you look at, and I was telling you, if you look at eBay's position in this marketplace of reselling, I think that they're probably challenged more now than they ever have been, and not necessarily by a singular entity, a singular reselling site like Poshmark or something. Even though some of those, I mean, because look, Poshmark sell volume is like minuscule compared to eBay. It's just tiny.
Yeah.
But if you add Poshmark and Etsy and Mercari, Bonanza, Facebook Marketplace, you go on and on, the district and whatnot, and all the live selling platforms besides that, even on YouTube and people sell on their Instagram pages. You can buy through reselling marketplaces from so many places now. I mean, there's so many exchanges, so many platforms to engage in that. And I was telling you, if we push all those together and lump them together collectively, they do form a pretty large marketplace that I think,
They do.
I don't know that it exceeds eBay, but it definitely would rival eBay. And there's no way that the existence of all of them collectively, I didn't mention Depop. I mean, there's so many others, but that all of them collectively aren't pulling some, business away from eBay. The one thing that's helped reselling in general is the fact that purchasing online, right, in just overall has grown exponentially in the last decade to the point that in spite of that's why new platforms have been able to be successful to start with. You didn't have to get in on the opening floor like, Amazon and eBay kind of did early on in order to be successful here, because the expansion of buying online has grown so much. But in order to remain competitive, and I think, for a company like eBay, it's not just about being competitive. They don't want to just, I said, sort of stay stagnant, but you want to be able to grow. You want to exceed your position of where you were, and you've got to beat out your competition to do that. So I think cross listing has had a lot to do with this. Even though eBay is a part of the cross listing game, I think the fact that people that get dissatisfied with eBay can leave eBay behind altogether now and then buy into a cross listing service if they're willing to put in the time to put their listings into that, and then they can list on 4, 5, 6, however many they allow. I don't use them, but they can group those together, these alternatives, and create for themselves and their products a market that maybe is not as big as eBay, but it's substantial. And like if you only sell on Poshmark, you're probably not going to do as good as if you sell on eBay.
Right.
I mean, maybe clothing, but I'm saying in general, or only Mercari, because they don't have as large a share of the market. You're not going to get as many eyes. That's what I'm getting at. But if you combine 3 to 5 of those together and have everything that you have in your inventory listed on those and not on eBay, who knows? Maybe you can get as many sales or have almost as many eyes as you would if you listed on eBay. I think that's where eBay's looking at this. I may be wrong. I think they're looking at, we've got to get more eyes on our goods if we're going to continue to outpace sales from these other competitors combined, because it's so easy now as a seller to sell on all of them simultaneously and keep up with it compared to what it would have been 5-10 years ago.
Absolutely. That was news to me when you brought that up too. I didn't know that eBay was trying to get into the marketplace on Facebook like that. And I get why. I understand that. And I don't do a lot of Facebook marketplace. I mean, I look at it, but I don't buy quite a bit. I'll buy here and there. It has to be one of those, deals that pop up and you just happen to be the one looking at it. You grab it and you go. But those end up getting gone like really, really quick. But it will be interesting to see where that goes. But eBay has been weird for me like the last 2, 3 days. I've got a 7-day streak going on listing, right? I've been listing every day. I've got 80 something, 85 drafts right now, and I've been listing 10 a day the entire week. I say the entire week. I don't list on Sunday. Sunday's just a day off. Church, family. I just don't do nothing on eBay. So 7 days was Monday through Saturday and then today. But I didn't sell anything. Yes. Was it yesterday? I think it was. I forget now, but I believe it was yesterday. I didn't sell a thing. No, that's a lie. I sold $41 and $48 the day before. Nothing on Friday, 75 on Thursday. And that all comes after I had a $250 day on Wednesday. So, and that's, Mondays when I started listing. I even dropped $1,000 worth of listings. I think it was Thursday. I believe it was Thursday. I've been keeping track on my momentum board. That kind of helps me too. The momentum board helps me stay focused, keeping up with how many I've dropped and how much value it is. So eBay's been kind of weird for me, 7 days of listings and it's not really shown up in sales, so to speak. I had 3 sales all weekend, and I kind of figured I would have not going to have 30 or nothing, as I've got a ways to go to build momentum and get back to where I was to expect to have the same kind of results and sales as I had. I know all that, but 3 was kind of a shocker, because I've been listing some decent stuff. So I figured maybe 10, but 3, that was it. So eBay is a strange animal sometimes.
Look, it's unpredictable for me. Matter of fact, I think it's. Let me look. I'm curious you bring that up about the pace of sales, because it's like I get wound up kind of excited, like, okay, this is going really well, and I don't have the sales some people do. I don't necessarily try to hide anything or expose anything necessarily on sales. I just do what I do. But I was looking. I've had, let's see.
You got a cute beard going on too, by the way. You gonna have to
So I had 9 sales yesterday.
Wow.
9 sales yesterday. I had 5 on Saturday,
You beat me.
1 on Friday.
So 15 total.
I'd been averaging 8 to 9, like for about, other than that one day with 1, like it's like I had a day with 5. It was like 9, 7, 8, then a 5, and then like another 8 or 9, and then it was 1, and then the ones I just told you. It's like I didn't do anything different,
Yeah.
There was no activity. I mean, one way or the other. There wasn't hardly any offers to send, no offers coming in.
That was the way mine was too. No
Mhm.
offers. I think I had like 1 offer yesterday, 1 offer the day before that. I woke up to 2 today, so I was like, well, maybe whatever's going on is different. Because I think there is some. I'm not a conspiracy theorist guy on eBay, but I do think anytime they update the platform or they do something to it, I think it does something to the visibility for a little while.
Right.
I don't know that it messes up sales, but I have experienced myself trying to check out, buy something, and it will not work. So I've experienced that myself, and I wonder how many times that translates over to stuff people are trying to buy from me. Will it let them check out? How many times are they going to try before they say, heck with it, I'll go over here to whatever, I'll find it somewhere else, or I'll just not buy it, or I think all that stuff does happen from time to times. I don't know that it's necessarily an eBay glitch. I do think there is something that happens though, for sure.
Yeah, I do think I don't like you said. I don't know if it's like just the time it takes for things to recalibrate. If there's like a period of integrating listings back in, and sometimes we're further down the list in the update. I mean, I don't know how that works, but you would think. I know, like if we're doing something in our store, like if we say start a sale, you'll notice that everything's not immediately processed. Like it lets you know this could take up to 24 hours, to process. And so, yeah, it does make me wonder sometimes if, and it's okay if it is. I mean, brick and mortar stores sometimes have to close for a cleanup, close for a reset, close for an inventory. There's times they have to do, temporary stoppages to get things done. So, I mean, I do get it, but I do wonder that's a good point, because maybe that's what happens sometimes. And sometimes during some of the updates, like if you're near the top of the list of as the update is cycling through, the computer system or the operating system, maybe you get your listings become visible a lot quicker. But if you're further to the bottom in that reset, then maybe there's a period of time. Maybe there's 10 hours that they're not there. They're in the system, but they're not visible to the buyer, maybe,
Could be.
And I'm sure they don't do it all at one time. They probably do it in cycles, but never, because, they wouldn't take their whole site down purposefully, where there's nothing available. But if they're doing, 5% or even 1% at a time, that's still a huge number of listings. I mean, there's so many things listed.
Oh, yeah.
That's so many listings to process. So maybe that happens to us sometimes. Maybe it hits us harder sometimes than others. I don't know.
It could be. Could be. It's something interesting to think about. So I have this story. I want to get comfortable for this story.
Uh-oh.
This just shows my foolishness sometimes and my ignorance. And I don't cook, right? You know that. I don't do a lot of cooking. I cook when I'm here by myself and I'm hungry, I'm going to eat lunch or whatever. Today, yeah, you're going to need milk for that.
He's even careful about what he drinks.
That is true.
Anyway, go ahead.
But like today, I made myself this little cheese wrap burrito thing with bacon in it. Just bacon bits, a couple pieces of cheese. I fried it up. Nothing fancy. It done what it needed to do. So that's how I am. I can make noodles. I can make sandwiches. I can do that. Cook some breakfast foods. Things of this nature. The other day, I'm like, well, I don't know what I want to eat, but I was trying to figure it out, and I look in the cabinet, and I'm like, oh man, I could have some pinto beans. So I popped a can of pinto beans. I poured it out, and I'm like, well, that don't look like a whole lot. So I threw another can in there. I'm warming them up, and I ate both cans of pinto beans. So to put this into proper perspective, that is 7 servings of pinto beans, which is probably like 2 days worth of carbs, 2 days worth of protein, probably 2 days worth of salt. Is bad. Is a lot. When I got done, all that hit me all at once. I hurt the rest of the day.
Well, the one you left something out.
What? What did I leave
How
out?
many days worth of methane was it?
Actually, none. I
How's
don't
that
know.
possible?
I don't know if it just like my stomach was hurting. I don't know if it just bottled up in there and it
it,
never came out.
it
Like
must have
I guess I shouldn't say none
it
because there
must have come out through your pores, brother.
maybe it it came out like normal, but there was no additional, nothing.
Man.
And the way I eat my pinto beans is I take like with a bowl of pinto beans, I'll take like 2 spoonfuls of mayonnaise, mix that in. That's how I eat them, right? That's how I do it. That's how a lot of people do it. But anyway, some people don't like it and they're weird. But it really messed me up. I'm just gonna say, if you love pinto beans, that's great. Don't eat 2 cans all at once. That's not a proper portion size because I was miserable.
Oh
I
my
came out
goodness.
here trying to work and my stomach's hurting and it's kind of like my brother-in-law made a taco. Let me think what it was called. What did you call that? It was a chili taco soup, something like that. It's
Yeah.
basically like Great Northern beans, 3 or 4 kinds of beans. There's like 3 or 4 different kinds of beans that are not pinto beans, but northern beans and all that kind of stuff. And then some meat and some taco seasoning, and it's a good soup. Well, the night he made that, I was digging it. I'm like, boy, this is good tonight. Like this is what I was wanting. I had like 3 bowls. And I done the same thing then. All those beans hit me all at once, and I was just miserable for like 5 hours.
Mm.
Well, this time it lasted like from 12, well, whenever it was like, yeah, about 12 o'clock till we ate supper that night. I was sitting there going, I don't know that I'm hungry, Tanya. I just don't know that I want anything to eat. And I ate and I felt okay, but it was rough. It was,
Oh man. I
but
can't imagine. Northern beans kill me. They hurt me so bad.
do they?
That's the one. I mean, I love them, but I usually if I cook Northerns, I'll do like half Northerns and half Pintos,
Yeah,
and it's not quite as bad. I don't know what it is about Northerns. Northerns have always just they make me hurt.
really.
I think it just that methane thing. Think it gets trapped a little bit or something.
I think so
but
too. If you've
but
never had gas get up in your chest,
oh
you
man,
don't know pain because that right there can hurt so
oh
bad.
yeah.
Feels like you're having a heart attack.
I tell you though, it's what's that the beans and rice and beans, what you eat when you pour, I mean, I remember we talked about this a little bit last week, but I'll say this: my dad, I've mentioned this before. My dad was born in 1940, and he was the baby of 16 kids, of course. And I've mentioned this for those that watch the show. So the last in line of 16 kids had a family over about 20 plus years. Only had one set of twins, so 15 live births. All of them lived, and or 15, pregnancies, 16
Yeah.
live births, all of them lived. But that being said, if you know a little bit about your history, then you know that 1940 were kind of World War II had started, but we weren't involved yet. Of course, it was December 7, 1941. I say involved; we weren't militarily. We had not entered the war ourselves.
Uh,
We were engaged in some things, like stateside and guarding our waters and things like that. But I won't get in real deep to that stuff. If you want to know more about it, tell me in the comments, and I'll talk more detailed on future episodes when those things come up. But I want to focus on this. He was born in 1940. So, like his siblings, you start backtracking. Well, that was the 20s and 30s. They were having their family like literally right in the midst of the Great Depression, this big old family. And they weren't, it wasn't because they were wealthy. They said, hey, let's have a bunch of kids since we got so much money. It wasn't like
yeah.
that. They were poor farming family, and mostly like sharecroppers is what they were for the most part. When my dad was like, I think he was 10, the first time like his dad was able to buy his own piece of property. And he bought a pretty large piece of property way out in the middle of nowhere, and they
Mm.
continued farming that and leased other lands to farm, several hundred acres altogether that they were farming. And they did that for a few years until my dad and his brother that was just older than him had moved off, and then they let the leased lands go, and eventually his dad sold the farm and got out of that altogether. But anyway, growing up, they were so poor. Dad said sometimes, that when they would sit down at the table, that all his mom could do was just read him the recipes off the recipe cards. And
Yeah.
he had a little brother that was deaf. Said he about starved to death.
Okay, you win this week. That's pretty good. That's pretty bad, but pretty good.
But they were, all kidding aside, they really were. They grew up in a different time. I think sometimes we don't appreciate the fact that we can eat 7 servings of pinto beans.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
we shouldn't do it to ourselves. But I'm thankful, man. I thinking about this a lot. Like even when we're complaining about the cost of living, we're complaining about inflation. And look, I get it. When I walk in our local grocery store here, and it's not a lot better at Walmart. But I walk in here it's a Piggly Wiggly here locally in Barry. And for a dozen and a half eggs, the 18 pack of eggs, large eggs, is $12.99. $12.99. That's the price right now. I mean, it's almost a dollar a bullet, for eggs.
Yeah.
So I don't know what y'all call them. Sometimes we call them bullets. Sometimes we call them hen apples. We got different names for them in here.
I've never heard bullets. I've heard hen apples, but
but anyway, it does. It really makes you think. You have to really consider what you get and what you don't get. But at the same time, in spite of all that, and I know it's different. Look, I'm not where I'm at socioeconomically is not where everybody is. I'm not saying we're not really high. We're not necessarily really low. We're somewhere in the middle. For Alabama, we do okay in our area. But, I've had to start subtracting some things. But in the midst of all that, nevertheless, like I think back of what we've eaten, over the last week or two, the different meals I fixed, things that we're able to have. And it's like, I ain't got nothing to complain about. We hadn't even come close to having to just eat beans and rice or just eating ramen noodles like you in college, or something like that. I mean, we ain't been nowhere near being there. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I know there's people that's probably living off of that right now. That's the best they can do. And there's no shame in it. It's just the way it is. But man, I'm thankful. We're blessed. We're definitely blessed in spite of everything that, sometimes we think too, I believe this, if we're not really careful, we'll get it in our mind that we deserve a lot more than we really do. We feel deprived and feel however those feelings get us all. They get us all kind of in this particular state of mind. And I know everybody may not agree with me, but the way I look at it, I don't deserve very much. And so anything I get above, and all my philosophy of these things is biblical. And so in God's word, he said that he promised the righteous man bread and water. And if I look at myself in the mirror and I say, am I righteous? I have a hard time trying to figure out if I even deserve bread and water. And yet when I look at what he's put on my plate and set before me to feast off of and to enjoy, I think, wow, I'm a blessed man, so it's really in perspective. It's how we see things.
Same here. That's exactly.
Enjoy those pintos, but don't hurt yourself.
Well, you know what Tanya made for lunch yesterday?
What's that?
Pintos.
Oh man, hey, this week we had pinto beans at the beginning of the week with cornbread and fixings, different stuff. And then was it day before yesterday? I think it was Saturday, maybe Friday or Saturday. I never do black eyed peas. I'm not a big black eyed peas fan. I love purple hulls. I love peas. Purple hulls, crowder peas, zipper peas, butter peas, pretty much any pea out of the garden. But like dried beans, I don't care for black eyed peas too much. But I did some black eyed peas, and we had black eyed peas and cornbread, and I do this squash potatoes and onions, where you cut up your squash in chunks like the size of the end of your thumb, and then dice your onion up real small and do small pieces of potato. I salt and pepper that, pour some buttermilk over it, mix it around, and then add a little bit of flour and a healthy amount of cornmeal to it. Toss that around until it's kind of sticky. Throw it in the pan. And it fries up almost like a fritter. You turn it over in chunks and break it up, and it's got all these crunchy pieces all in it, like cornbread tasting, cornbread fritters in it. Nice. And with the squash, man, it's so good. It's so good. But we had that and a bunch of other stuff. Yesterday, I had put a pork roast on, and seasoned it up in the crock pot. I don't use crock pot a lot, but I do it for that sometimes. And so we did these 2 pork roasts, and I shredded them out, and I made Cuban sandwiches. I don't know if you ever eat those or not, but my spin on a Cuban. A Cuban sandwich usually is like pickles, mustard, maybe a little bit of mayo, but pickles, mustard, ham, shredded, roasted pork that's shredded, and Swiss cheese. It can have other things, like there's other spins on it, that people do. I mean, more of Americanized versions, I guess. Yeah. And that's kind of what I did. But like your basic Cuban was kind of what I just said. Like for mine, I did mayonnaise on the bottom piece. And then you also you press it. It goes in the sandwich press.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a hot sandwich. So I did mayonnaise on the bottom piece. I layered it in like really good dill pickles, and then a layer of ham. I did a layer of I didn't have Swiss. I usually always have Swiss, and I thought I did, but I was out. So I did a layer of American, and then I did the pulled pork over that. And what I did the pulled pork. I topped that with mozzarella, shredded mozzarella, and then I did. I'm leaving something out. Oh, a little bit of sauerkraut. And then on the top bun, I put Thousand Island dressing, like just a line of Thousand Island dressing, squished all that together, threw it on the panini press, and pressed it down, hot sandwich style. It's pretty good stuff, brother.
You
And
know, all I told you all I had was this little old burrito thing I made earlier. Cheese burrito.
Then we had bacon ranch, mashed potatoes.
I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, that was good with some onion in it. We like onion at our house. Some people hate it. We love it.
Oh, I love onions.
So I had some kind of like potato salad, really, you know, but with had bacon, sharp cheddar, and ranch in it with the little bit of chipped up onion. So anyway,
I like me some. What would you say? I forgot what you said.
Roast onions.
Onions. I love onions on stuff. I like onion. You know, go to the garden and get an onion straight out of the garden.
Oh,
dust it off, wipe it off, eat it like that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that this year. I've never had a spot in 20 years. Really, really good spot to have a garden. We had a garden at our old house, but you know, we had a half acre. So it was have a garden or have a yard.
Yeah.
Or not both really. You know, you couldn't really have, I mean, you could have a small part of a yard and a decent little garden or, so we did a couple times, but it just didn't ever really work out for us. And after we got the shed, it was like, okay, you can't have nothing now, you know, pretty much.
Right.
But out here, I've got, you know, right when you come in, you've seen that big open spot. That spot, I would have to get out there and really clean it up. But if I got that cleaned up, I could have a killer garden. Like, I could have probably that's probably a half acre spot by itself right there. That I could go down there and do potatoes and corn and onions and tomatoes and oh man. Oh,
I love it, man.
There's
nothing like it. We haven't had one. We didn't have one last year. I think the last 2 years I did a garden, and that's unusual. I've had one. I've been on this property that I live on for right at 20 years, and I've had a garden, you know, most of the time I've been here. But it's just been too much. I say that a lot on here. I'm not trying to like, you know, pity pot or force that idea. Yeah. I told Casey last year, I said, I just don't, I said, I don't have time now to split among all the different things that I'm doing and really keep up with anything. You had a garden to that. I mean, because a garden is, I love it, but man, if you really tend it well, it takes some time, buddy. And speaking of that, it's not too far off from time to get the ground started if you're going to have one. I mean,
that is true. It is true.
As soon as it dries, you know, you have the end of this winter time. As soon as it starts to kind of dry up, the first time it dries up enough to break the ground, it's a good time to turn it over and let it set. You know, if you want to make sure the grass doesn't get it taken over before it's time to plant. So,
well, I don't have any grass down there, so I think I'd be okay. I mean, it's raw, man. It is totally
raw. Work yours. Yeah, yours just needs work really well.
I've got a ton of rocks and sticks where that was clear cut, and it's never been completely cleaned. I was going to rent a skid steer to finish my driveway, and then go down there and get one of the rake deals and kind of rake it down. At least, you know, get the top kind of combed down a little bit. But I ain't even got that. And then it got winter time on me. So I probably won't get the driveway done until early spring, you know, where it's at least manageable to be outside for hours at a time and not like 25 degrees, you know, something like that. But I mean, I've got plans down there to make a small shooting range. It'd be like 75 feet, pistol range, shotgun range. You know, they could shoot rifles, but it wouldn't be like they could sight in. And then off to the side, I could do a garden, you know.
Yeah.
And off to the other side, I could have my eBay shed that I want to build down there one day if Tanya ever lets me. But I say if she ever lets me. We've talked about it. There's a perfect spot right there for like a 24 by 48, like what you built, basically.
Yeah.
You know, something like that, concrete pad, metal building, insulate it, wire it, and be done. You know, not worry about, because in here, obviously, I'm going to sheetrock and floor and all that kind of stuff. And something like that, I wouldn't worry. I'd leave concrete floor, and I would, you know, I'd basically just put up the white insulation that they put in those
Right.
metal beans and leave it, and
Well, I
pipe
mean,
me.
you could do like I'm thinking of doing, and like pick you a spot like 10 by 10 to box in for an office to work out of, like
Yeah,
to keep more climate controlled than the rest of it. Even though
right.
you may not leave it completely uncontrolled, but you wouldn't have to work. It could be minimalistic.
Yeah,
Keep it above 50 and below 90 in the other part, but you can keep it comfortable in your office space.
absolutely. Yeah, 10 by 10, 10 by 12, something like that would be perfect. And have a little mini split on that. You'd never have any problems. Just
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Now I'm hungry. Thanks a lot.
Man, I love talking about food. We haven't done it in a while. I love talking about food.
I love some food.
I don't know
Let's.
what I'm going to do
I'm
today.
gonna read a comment because
Go for
this last week we was talking about the Al Gore rhythm, and we got
it.
a few comments about the Al Gore rhythm. And Retro Renewed, Aaron and Amber chimed in. They said love the Al Gore rhythm part, and of course said lots of room on the Lions wagon. It's now America's team. I don't know that you could deny that this year.
No,
Definitely.
well, I
Kicking.
think honestly, probably for the last couple of years. I mean, they won their division last year too, wouldn't it? I think. I mean, they've been on the up.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, they've definitely been on the up, on the upswing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think it's one of those. It's always a feel good story. It's like they're one. It's like Cleveland almost, in a sense. It's one
Yeah.
of those in the NFL. They're one of the ultimate underdogs. There's 2 or 3 teams in the NFL that, I mean, when were they successful? When were they ever? When were they ever
I
a
mean,
great team? Hardly. And with the Lions
the
more so than
Lions,
the Browns. The
the
Browns had some
Lions was
seasons.
always the ones that people said, "Oh, they're playing on Thanksgiving. Time for them to get beat."
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, the Browns, they did have seasons where they were competitive at least. I mean, they may not have
Yeah.
won the Super Bowl, but I mean, they had seasons where they were competitive and made good playoff pushes. And the Lions have had a team here and there. They had a season when Megatron was there. I think they had 1 or 2 decent seasons. Of course, with Barry Sanders, there was, I think, 1 or 2 times when they were playoff teams. Most of the time, they were a losing team when he was there.
Yeah.
I mean, or barely 500. But it's one of them things. They've just not really even enjoyed much success. Period. So it's refreshing, man. It gets you excited to see an underdog, kind of be able to do that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it's kind of like I hated losing to Vanderbilt, but at the same time, like seeing Alabama this year. But at the same time, like in the SEC, when you start to see a team like a Vanderbilt have success, like if they come out next year and win 9 or 10 games, I mean, it's hard not to be like kind of proud of Vanderbilt.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want them to beat you. You don't want to be the ones that lose to them. But at the same time, it's like they never get to enjoy that. So it's kind of exciting to see a different team, a different fan base, kind of get
Absolutely.
to experience that.
Who are you pulling for to go to the Super Bowl?
Go to the Super Bowl?
Who are you pulling for to win it? I should say. No.
Honestly, I think I'd like to see the Lions win it for sure. I mean, I love, like I said last week, I think it was, I loved Barry Sanders when I was a kid. He was probably was my favorite player to watch. Yeah, I mean, I just
when I was a
loved
kid,
watching
he
him.
was the running back and Jerry Rice was the wide receiver. That was the two
Yeah.
guys.
Well, I was kind of pulled between him and Emmitt Smith. I liked Emmitt Smith too. I didn't like the Cowboys, but I liked Emmitt Smith. He was an SEC guy, and longevity wise, I don't know what he did differently to be able to last. It's kind of like Derrick Henry. I mean, Derrick Henry's 31 years old. He looks like he's 25 out there. I mean,
I thought Derrick Henry would be done when he went to Baltimore.
man,
He played hard at Tennessee, man. He played,
yes.
and when he got traded, I was like,
Well,
well, he's done.
I will say this though: if you go back to Tennessee, I know it was at least his first 3, if not his first 4 seasons. He wasn't the feature back per se. Remember they had DeMarco Murray too,
It was
and I mean,
first couple of years, yeah.
it was a 1A 1B thing. Yeah, I mean,
it's a 2-back game, 2-back option, pretty much
and
all the time.
that probably helped him because he was overused in high school and college.
Yeah.
But he had about 4 years there. But I tell you, anybody that's not familiar, I know some people don't like the sports talk, but oh hell, it's okay. I love sports. It's going to come up from time to time. If you haven't ever went and looked at his regimen, like his dietary regimen, his workout regimen, I mean, he's one of those rare athletes, in any sports, kind of like, whether you like LeBron or don't like LeBron, I mean, Tom Brady, Tom Brady had his own trainer, but saying he had his own, like they were like locked in, dialed in all the time on maintaining their body, maintaining their health, trying to be as productive for as long as possible. And Derrick Henry's like that. He is like plumb madness when it comes to that routine of things. So when you see him on the football field and he's got like 2% body fat and weighs 250 pounds, and he runs top speed, like 22 miles per hour or something like that.
Yeah, he's a
he's one
freak.
of the fastest people on the field all the time. And,
He
nobody
looks like he's built like a linebacker more so,
man,
just like, because you see him running down through there and he sticks that hand out and he's taking people out. Like they have no chance. If he puts that arm out, they're done.
Here's the thing. He's so fast. If he wanted just to like make the corner and just make people miss, he could do that. He could do some of the things the smaller backs do. It's not that he's not fast or agile enough. He is. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. But he don't have to. He's so daggone big. He just turns up. He makes one cut and turns up field and says, "Please get in front of me. I'd love to embarrass you today."
Yeah.
That was he was asked after the game Sunday about his the stiff arm on Minka. Minka Fitzpatrick was the safety at Alabama before he was in the NFL. But he got Minka up in the hole about 15 yards downfield. And just on the side of the helmet does this, and Minka come off of his feet. He's a big old safety. This guy's over 200 pounds himself. He comes off of his feet and goes flying backwards. And if you watch Henry's highlights, that's just one of 100 times that he's done that to people. There's been times that he's got people in the chest and it looks like he slung them 5 yards. Just wiped them out. Anyway.
Well, there's a lot of momentum behind that dude. He's a big guy.
Just
moving the way he does. So you picked the Lions out of all that. And I think overall, at the end of the day, I'm probably going to say the Lions too. But I'm really tossed up between three teams that I've been enjoying watching. The Lions, just because of everything we just talked about. The Ravens, because of everything, because Derrick Henry was a Tennessee guy. He was an Alabama guy in college, and then he was a Tennessee guy for the first, 6-7 years of his career.
Yeah.
8 years maybe. And he was the guy in Tennessee, and he was fun to watch. Him and Lamar Jackson present a problem, unique problem into any defense anywhere. And I think they could be a big problem for any team this year. I'd like to see either one of those win or the Commanders, just because I've been enjoying Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels' chances of winning the Super Bowl are pretty low. And it's never happened. The rookie's never won the Super Bowl, rookie quarterback. I think I looked it up. The rookie quarterback's never won a conference title, like NFC, AFC title. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I'm pretty much to the point now, as long as it's not the Rams, I'm happy. I've never liked the Rams, the Patriots. Tom Brady, I didn't care for him. He was a freak athlete, or a good athlete, not a freak athlete, but
our buddy Chris hate me for this, but when I was growing up, another team I really liked growing up, I love Joe Montana when I was a kid. I wouldn't necessarily I know you're a 49ers guy. Probably if I was steered toward 49ers, it's because I like Montana and Rice. Because I followed them after they left the 49ers. Rice's time with the Raiders, Montana going to the Chiefs after the injury and Younga took his place, But I think because of him going to the Chiefs, when I was still fairly young, I kind of started following the Chiefs. And then I also remember on Tecmo Bowl, I love Christian Okoye, their running back. He was one of those guys who was kind of out of place in time. He's more like, the Earl Campbell style from the generation before, like Derrick Henry was just talking about today. I remember on the game when you'd hit people, they just fly off of them, It's just so weird, the graphics were terrible, but that's just the kind of guy he was. And if you watched him play, he was like that. So I enjoyed those players. And so I used to kind of like the Chiefs. I had a Chiefs t-shirt, some Chiefs gear, Chiefs hat when I was a kid. But I'm kind of over the Chiefs. If nothing else, Taylor Swift has ruined it for me, man. I'm so sick of having to look at Taylor Swift and hear about Taylor Swift every time they're on. I think that's almost consensus. Though it's probably been good for the league. It's brought a lot of viewers in, but overall. But
and that's why they do it.
Yeah. If they didn't advance past the next round, I'd be okay with it.
When your tight end becomes more of a pop culture icon than a football player, you got a problem. That's kind of where it is. And I'm not the Chiefs, I'm okay with the Chiefs. I like Pat Mahomes, but somebody said the other day, how much are the Texans going to have to pay to compete in that game? And I was like, that's kind of the way a lot of people feel right now. But they got a real shot to three-peat. But, if they play the way they played a lot of the year, it's going to be tough games. And now
Yeah,
they're against the elites, and it's really hard to pick. Like I picked 4-4 this weekend, but now I'm not looking forward to this next group of games. Like, man, I don't know. Who you going to
right,
pick?
right.
Like I just don't know. Now.
How about this? Can you pull it up?
What do you want me to pull up?
Pull up the bracket.
Next week's games.
We won't have tonight's winner in it. I know that, but we can't do nothing about that. So
you got the Texans and the Chiefs. You got the Commanders and the Lions. You got the Ravens and the Bills, and you got the winner tonight of the Vikings and the Rams and the Eagles. So Vikings, Rams, Eagles. One of those teams will play the Eagles. I think the Texans are going to lose. That's my personal feeling on that game. I feel like the Commanders are going to lose against the Lions. Then the Ravens and the Bills, man, that has been such a tough game every time they played. I'm pulling for the Ravens, but I wouldn't discount the Bills. So that one I'm kind of, toss up. And I feel like the Eagles are probably going to beat the Vikings or the Rams. That's just my feeling there. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I still am holding to my Lions-Ravens Super Bowl. Or no, it can't. No, it can't be. Yeah, can it be? Yeah, AFC, NFC. That's who I'm holding. Ravens and Lions.
Okay, so I'm going to go. This isn't necessarily this. Some of this is not scientific. I'll put it that way. It's not necessarily picking the favorites. But if I had to pick, I would go Lions this weekend. I do think, like you said, if the Commanders found a way to win, I think there's a good chance they could run the table onto the Super Bowl if they were to do that. I think they're playing the best football they've played all year. They're one team that I feel like has done nothing but improve. They went from kind of a slow start to, kind of some last minute victories, some big drives, some big plays that kind of helped them win games that some would say maybe they shouldn't have won, to really starting to play very competitive and very, good football toward the end. So I think they're a team kind of like the Lions. You saw the Lions kind of go through that rise to this year being more dominant, not just a team on the rise, but a team that's dominant. And so I think they're a dangerous team. But anyway, I'm going to go with Lions and Eagles on the NFC side. And then the Ravens, I'm going Ravens over the Bills. And I'm going to take the Texans.
Really?
I just want to look, man, Stroud was impressive.
I mean, I can't.
I was not a Stroud fan in college, but I'm telling you what, him and Jaden Daniels, some of these young quarterbacks are just, they're blowing it out of the water, man.
What was it? I think I looked at the graphic. Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff was the oldest quarterbacks in the grouping, and Sam Darnold, and I was like, most of the quarterbacks were younger. Even Pat Mahomes ain't like a super old quarterback. He's, middling, but it's a group of young guys. And I think that speaks to their hunger and their desire. They've been out there and played with a lot of heart. It's definitely interesting. It's going to be very interesting. And, I read something today, the Lions are getting back some of their injured players. They're getting healthy. Man, they may wipe the whole league out. They may run the table and win it all.
Isn't Montgomery supposed to be back this week? I think they're running back. I think he's back. David Montgomery. I believe so. That was his tracking for it. And
I can't remember.
And they've been teasing at Hutchinson being back in time for the Super Bowl if they make it. I mean, he's back to activities, and he was on the sideline the last game. I mean, who knows? I mean, they've not guaranteed anything, but he pretty much said that's his goal, that if he's cleared and it's going to be no detriment, that's the plan, is to be on the field. And coming back from a break, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Same season. Yeah. I mean, and not just to heal, but to get back to playing condition, playing strength, having done, the muscular rehab from atrophy, all those things that have to take place, and to be ready to go. That's crazy if he actually makes it. But I get it. NFL is a strange thing, man. And they look dominant right now, look like they might be able to make the Super Bowl for have a chance to for the next 2 or 3 years. But they may be like the 49ers. 49ers went last year, and look at them this year. Look how they look this year.
I know.
If they make it might be his only chance to play in one. So why wouldn't you try to get out there?
Oh, absolutely. I was excited about the 49ers' chances this year, and then just look at how it just kind of, all fell apart.
Yep.
But that's the way it goes. I mean, there's no guarantees. There is no, you never know from week to week. This guy gets hurt, that guy gets hurt, and you got a whole different team you're looking at before you know it. So I'm gonna have to go in and make something to eat now. You got me starving to death. I'm actually looking at pictures of food over here, like starving to death.
I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read what our friend Mary McCain said in the comments right quick. She said, "Hi guys, actually, McQueen. Yeah, you got me doing that. I said I wouldn't do that, and I look. It's been so long since I said the name. I went back to your pronunciation of it. I'm sorry, Mary McQueen. So, and how about that? Caleb corrected me on it. That's good. How long did I spend correcting you on that?
Like months.
Yeah, I know. Oh wow, we all have brain lapses. But she says, "Hi guys, I actually like the football talk. LOL. Drum roll, please. Here are my picks for this weekend. Disclaimer: some may be biased since I have a few favorites playing. She picked the Texans, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Eagles, the Buccaneers, and the Vikings. And so far, not a good week for you, Mary, but overall. But you got a couple left, and we'll see about tonight.
Yep.
So she said, let's see how I do. And then she said, Josh, I mainly do RA retail arbitrage. And I talked about this some last week and how some channels, that where they sell mainly, RA, that it can give the perception that the earnings are a lot higher than what they really are because you pay into it so much more in order to sell it. You sell it for such a higher price overall. And, but you got to subtract that cost of goods out anyway. She said, although I'm planning to do more thrifting again this year, she said, and you're right, the cost of goods is usually higher. Today I sold a set of sheets for $60. My net profit was $21. She said, which I'm not mad at, but she said I had to pay $27 for the item. So she said, I just really like linens and have been learning the brands. Fun podcast as always. Liked and shared. Thanks, guys. And so anyway, I was just going to say that. And that's what I wasn't trying. I hope nobody felt like I was calling them out either. That wasn't my point. Retail arbitrage is a fantastic, no, seriously, but it's a fantastic way to make money. It does require a lot more working capital in order to turn over enough inventory, because people that have, like, if you go in and look at all of my inventory that I've got collected up that's listed and unlisted, if that was retail arbitrage only, I'd probably have 10 times the money in it, if not more, than what I have. 100%. And so you have to have a lot more capital to operate with at a high volume if you're doing retail arbitrage, and be able to come out, to the good as far as your profits. And your percent profit margin is going to be a lot lower. I would say probably 25% or less of your, on probably 20% or less a lot of times. But look, a 20% profit, if you're making $100 sale after $100 sale and you're making a 20% profit on them, $20, $20 at a whack. If you're doing 10 or more of those a day, that's a couple $100 a day. There's nothing, there's no shame in that at all. No shame.
Oh.
But on eBay, if you're looking at yours, for me to make $20, I might have to only sell that item for $21.
Yeah.
I mean, because if I got 10 cents in a CD and sell it, or I have to do more than that, but you know what I'm saying, $25 or so, 25 or so. I don't have to sell it for a whole lot. And so my gross amount of sales is not going to look good compared to the person that's selling those other items. That's kind of what I was getting at. But we love Mary, love the comments, love the input. And hopefully your Vikings will come out victorious for you tonight. We'll see how it goes.
I actually messaged her and I told her, I said, I don't know about the Steelers. I'm like, they were a fluke.
It wasn't a good game, but it was more competitive than I expected it to be. Even
it was,
I thought it was going to be worse.
I thought they was going to get absolutely mauled. And I mean, the score didn't look like they got, done very well, but no, they kept it close for a while.
Right.
But yeah, that, I don't know. Didn't I tell you, I think I told you last week, after I started with the silverware, I would come back and tell everybody I had my cost of goods, and then I would tell you kind of because I thought I would know what my list value would be. I think I told people that. So I had about $40 to $50 in all the silverware that I was listing, around let's just say 50. So the list value ended up being over $3,000, like $3,300 worth of silverware that I put on. It's not all listed yet. Some about 20 listings is listed. I've got about 20 more to go that are drafted. But that was something I was mentioning last week, and I actually mentioned it on my video the other day, from yesterday, Sunday. by the time this comes out, that it's my number one favorite thing to sell now. It's not always super easy to list because it takes a little bit of research, but it's really, really good return, like really good return. Because if you spent, I literally spent $50 on all this, and I'm going to turn it around if I get full price, $3,000 plus. If I only get 70% of that, I'm still going to make $2,400, So
now, is that still the Rushmore you're listing?
no, this is Oneida. Some of it's Oneida, some of it is, let me think, let me see if I can remember. Some of it is unknown manufacturer lusterware. Some of it is Oneida stainless, called Chatelaine. Some of it's international silver. There's a little bit of, I got it mixed in here now. I got to find it. National stainless. Let's see. I've done lost it. What did I do with it? Well, anyway, there's quite a bit of Oneida in it, but it's different Oneida. It's not the Rushmore.
Right.
Oh, the good one, the really good one is Oneida Betty Crocker. That's the model. It's called Betty Crocker. I actually had 7 forks that listed for $225.
Wow.
Now, it may take me a year. I may have to take $150, $175, but I've literally got about, I don't know, $1, not even $1. 50 cents in those 7 forks.
Yep.
If I make $100, I mean, there is no comparison. So, and yeah, you can, I don't know about retail arbitrage. I know people do that. I've never done well at it because I've not educated myself in it enough to be good at it. I know you have to kind of learn your game. You have to hone your craft. Just like we do going to yard sales. You can't buy everything you see. You'll end up with a bunch of trash. You got to literally
and
pick.
It's like this. You need to, I mean, you got to figure out what it is you enjoy. Like with Mary saying that when you find something you enjoy selling and you have access to it, and especially people that, like, I know when you're working full time and you got to, sometimes hitting up thrift stores and retail shops is the best you can do. Clearance items and your stores like your Ross and TJ Maxx and Burlingtons and things like that buy stuff that's been pulled from other store shelves. Get it at a discount, sell it for cheaper prices, that kind of thing. It's you got to go with what you can find, but at the same time, if you just really enjoy selling new and packaged items because you like the ease of it and that's what you want to do and you make money off of it, and more power to you. I say do what works for you, absolutely. But like I say, it's it really comes down to this. And another one of our comments, it was I haven't seen this person in the comments before, but it was Wink 853, and this is what kind of goes back to what you were saying about the silverware. And our topic last week we had discussed was January sales, the slowdown, how to get around any kind of slowdown for our sales after Christmas. And in all caps, they just said list good items.
True.
And I mean it is that simple, really. It's that simple. And we kind of said that in the episode, right? We got to avoid the bad buys, make sure we're purchasing things that will sell, and like we talked about. If you got stuff laying around that will sell, but you just hadn't want to put the elbow grease into getting it ready, sometimes it's better to list that item is going to sell than to list 5 things that's going to take 2 years to get out of your store. I mean, it's common sense, list good items. And, I think there's something to be said on the silverware, like what you were talking about.
Right there. List that right there.
No, I don't want to list that. That's mine. That's mine.
Take a picture of it and hang it on the wall.
Hey, well, no, I mean, I may be totally surprised by this. I don't know. Who knows? There are trends and fads, and it may one day, I may get 5 years down the road and be like, why didn't I sell that? It's worth $100 less now. But what if 10, 15 years down the road, it's worth $1,500 instead of 5,
Could be, possibly.
I think there's the fact that right now it's worth probably twice what it was when it was retail, tells me that it's probably never going to be worth less than it was when it's retail. It's always going to be, so.
You're not going to find too many more of them in the box like that.
I mean, it's got all the old paperwork, the plastics.
Yeah.
It was used, but when they put it up and quit playing it, they had the original box with 100% of the packaging, and they put it all back together just like factory and put it in the box and stored it. So, I mean, as you've noticed before, there's actually 2 of them.
That one's mine. You've just not sent it up here yet.
So
he acts like he didn't hear that.
yeah.
That if we was ranking we've been ranking football, if we was ranking game systems, that and the PlayStation 2 for me are like neck and neck. But that one was awesome, especially with the age I was like 16 or something when it came out, 15, 14, I don't know. And it was just like a total game changer, literally.
Well, I never had anything newer than a Super Nintendo.
Well, I didn't have one. I didn't have money to buy one. My neighbor had one, and I'm up there playing GoldenEye like all the time. Me and the kid really didn't get along that good, but we did get along good on video games.
You have to sacrifice for that.
Yeah, I had to sacrifice. And then pastor's son, who was one of my best friends, he had one. He had all the game stuff, so I'd go to his house and play, but we couldn't afford one. And I was working when the PlayStation 2 come out, so that's how I got one of those. I saved up and I think they were like $200 when they came out or something. And I put one in layaway because I was working at Walmart when it came out. And it took me like 4 or 5 weeks and I finally got it out. But yeah, that's
when did the first Nintendo come out? Do you remember what year it was when Nintendo was first introduced?
80s.
Was it 81?
I want to say the early 80s.
I know it was early 80s. I just didn't know.
Seems like 80.
You got to know that.
85. The
85
original Nintendo was released in October 18th, 85. And it was limited to a release run in New York. In February 86, it was released to more retailers in the U.S. and Canada. And it was nationally released in September of 86. So technically 85, nationally 86.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
I was trying to think. I believe it was 89 or 90 when I got my regular. It was bought off of a family member used. Yeah. When I got my first regular Nintendo.
I never had a regular Nintendo.
It was at least 4 years. I think it was about 4 years, 3 to 4 years after they were available.
Yeah.
And it was bought used. So
my grandmother got on to me when I was, I don't know, I was probably 7 or 8 years old, which is about the right timing. It had been out a few years. I was born in 83. So that released in 86. It'd been out about 4 years. And I told her I wanted a Nintendo for Christmas, right? That's what I told her. And she said, "You don't need no Pinto. You need a bicycle." She's like, she just, she told me I need a bicycle. Yeah. I'm like, Penny, I want a Nintendo, I finally got one, but it was like, I don't know. It was probably in the 90s before I got one. And then I did get a Super Nintendo somehow, some way. I don't remember that either, but that was all I had too until I bought a PlayStation 1 somehow. And then I bought the PlayStation 2. And that's where I stopped. I didn't buy anything else until we got married and had kids, and I bought the kids a PlayStation 3. They never really played it much. Me and Logan played football. And then recently, in the last couple of years, I bought a PS4 to sell on eBay. And the boys was like, "Hey, we can play this, that, and the other." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll try, And now they play like Farming Simulator and crazy stuff. I'm like, "No, you're supposed to kill zombies," and all that.
Oh my goodness. I was a sports game almost all the way, for the most part. I never was big on the other types of games. So I played Zelda. I had a Link to the Past. That's the one, something like that on the Super Nintendo because it came with the system that I got.
Yes, I never was a big Zelda guy.
So I mean, I told you about that before. That I was like near the end of the game. I'd nearly finished it. It took me forever because I wasn't one of those I could just play it for hours and hours. And my little nephew turned it on when I was at school and erased my saved game on it. So I never even played it again. But yeah, I was sports games all the way: football, basketball, baseball, a little bit, golf. I mean,
I played all the sports games too. I did like some of the I never got into like a lot of people play now, like the whatever it's called, the ones where you're like military shooting people and all that.
Like first person shooter games.
Yeah, whatever them are called. I don't even know what they're called. Shoot, I can't remember. But anyway, the one I did like was Metal Gear Solid. I used to play the far out of Metal Gear Solid, man. Like I on PlayStation and PlayStation 2, I played all of them, but then the last ones, they got kind of raunchy. So I was like, no, I can't, the way a lot of games are getting now is kind of like that. And I'm like, nah, I'm not interested.
I liked games. If I was going to play a game that wasn't a sports game, I liked the games that, where you had to level up. You had different parts of your character. It's the RPG games. I think I never played them a
Oh, I
lot. So I
hated
maybe,
RPGs.
yeah, but like where you
Oh
had to
my
collect
God.
stuff, and find weapons and buy
Yes.
weapons and trade stuff in, and
Oh, I
like
hated those.
that made me have to think, and I like to think. So
Final Fantasy, stuff like that.
you're not a fan of having to think.
No, I'm not.
I think I just asked that so you could say it.
Yeah, I like to amuse myself.
Oh man.
That I heard a preacher preach on that one time. He said the word amuse, amuse. He said, you know what that really means? And I listened to him and he said, well, muse means to think. And to add the A means not, no, A.
Yeah.
He said, so no thinking. You amuse yourself, you're not having to think. And I was
Yep.
like, that's true. That's very true.
Yep.
Thanks. You made me think. I wasn't amusing myself.
Well,
Right?
that's what I tell my wife. I tell her, like it's not. I'm not. I understand like all the negativity, like from television. Like there's a lot of negative. You know what I mean? Anything we can focus on that part of it. I tell her, for me, like the role that plays, like when we sit down in the evenings, it's not that I just love. I'm just all into these. I know this show and that show. It's not. It has nothing to do with that. It's one
Yep.
of the only things that stops my brain. Like it stops me from thinking about everything else. Like if it's something that's engaging, and I say that if it's a show, I like a show where you have to think, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
but that's all I'm thinking about.
Oh,
And if it's not for that, then I'm thinking about like
look,
50 things at one time,
I lost you there for a minute.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It kind of caught up all at once, though. You're good.
Okay. But yeah, it helps me to disconnect from all the things that we tend to obsess over, worry about. It's just an escape, like you said, to amuse. Even if the show makes me think about who did it, at least I'm not thinking about everything else for a little while, and that helps my mind relax some.
Well, a lot of people say, "Oh, you're against entertainment." Not at all. Everybody needs a downtime. Everybody needs a time to just relax your brain and just take it easy. You need that. Uh, it's just don't overdo it because
Life is more than amusement.
it is. It gets to the point where we don't want to do anything else. Like I struggle with that. Like what you was talking about before the show. You know, we watch content trying to help people or whatever, and you end up spending more time trying to find something to watch than working. I used to do that back in the shed. I would turn something on the TV. I had a TV like right here, on the wall, and I would turn something on and just listen to it, or I'd turn it on my other screen and listen to it. And I'd sit there trying to find something, and I'm like, you know what? The heck with it. I'm just going to turn on Unsolved Mysteries or something and just listen to that for a little while. And then I'd be sitting there going, who did that? Who's, like watching it, so I
Yeah.
couldn't do that
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, I think that's where podcasts, whether it's us or anybody else, I think it's where podcasts are really handy because
It's gotta be us.
well, yeah, but I'm talking about for us. I don't sit there and listen to us, but
Why not?
that's where it really helps me because it is more just conversation, and I like that. Or if it's story, I mean, there's all kinds of podcasts out there. You don't have to be about reselling. I mean, everybody enjoys different stuff. I think most people that watch podcasts, even resellers that listen to reselling podcasts, probably listen to things that aren't reselling as well. They have their little niches.
They do.
Yeah, whether it's sports or true crime or whatever it might be, the list goes on and on, unsolved mysteries or whatever.
I watch a lot of true crime type
Really?
stuff. Like I like Dateline and I like, FBI files and anything to do with murder mystery type,
No, thank you.
no thank you.
No, thank you. The real stuff, I mean, I can watch it, but like the real stuff, I don't like anything that makes me think too much about if the door's locked. Makes you think too much about what was that noise I just heard? Why are the dogs barking? Like I promise, I live in this world where we grew up. We didn't lock doors. We didn't lock the house. We didn't worry about no, and I pretty much still, people might think I'm crazy for this, but I pretty much still live there. I literally for 5 years I've been fussing about my wife's car because every time I go out there, the stupid thing is locked. You know, it locks itself. You know, I'll go to the back door to put my guitar in when we're headed to church, and the back door, the driver's door will unlock if you stand there beside it. The back door doesn't. You got to push the unlock button, or you got to pull the door open and push the lock. But you know, I've got 40 years of not having to do that. You know, and so I go out and I'm still after 5 years grabbing that stupid rear door handle to put my guitar in and fussing at the car. Stupid car. I hate this thing, you know. And I can't believe it. And I was really mad at myself because for 5 years I'm still pulling that stupid handle, expecting it to be unlocked because it's sitting in my yard. It's like nobody wants this car. You know, why are you locked? Nobody wants this, you know. I mean, if they come up in the yard, that's the last thing they'd be trying to take. They'd see plenty of other stuff they'd rather pick up. So, you know,
Tanya's car is the same way. You have to push the button and have the key, but it won't auto lock. So a lot of times it'll be unlocked, you know. But it has this feature where, so I went out this morning and I'm cleaning it off, right, for her before she goes, because we didn't drive it all weekend because it's been and it's just 2-wheel drive and we just drove the truck. And I'm cleaning it off and I'm standing at the back. And if you stand there for more than a second or two, it'll start beeping. And if it beeps 4 times, the back's going to open. I'm like, oh man, I got to get out of the way. So I get out of the way real quick where it'll quit beeping and it won't open and it don't open. So I'm good. Then I get around the side. I'm cleaning the windows. I'm going to the front. I did not know this car would do this, but when you start cleaning the windshield, it must have a sensor or something that says, hey, the windshield needs wiped off. Here comes the wipers throwing stuff at me. I'm like, when did that become a thing? Like the wipers have an auto detect thing.
my goodness.
They'll just automatically come on. So yeah, they about hit me, like about threw snow in my face. I'm like, okay. And it done it like 3 times.
That's a good way to burn the motor up or break the wiper too if they're frozen in place.
Yeah,
like
it is.
Mine the other morning, I thought it had ran long enough. My truck, I cranked it, you know, before I went to the post office. I started down the driveway. I was going to, you know, swish the water off the windshield. Well, on one of them was still so frozen to it that when I turned it on, like the arm just broke loose from the windshield wiper. I just had the metal piece flopping. So I had to get out and stop, you know, and thankfully, you know, I mean, because you know, it's just the housing part of the windshield wiper you buy that you'd have to go, you know, thankfully it didn't actually crack it. Don't know how, being plastic and being that cold, you know, and forcing it out. So I was able to put it back together and put it on and it's working fine. But, you know, I thought I'm going to have to buy a new windshield wiper because of that, you know, but that's why I said that's odd that it would just choose to do that because nobody in their right mind would, you know, do that to themselves or turn it on and possibly froze to the windshield.
Well, it waited until I had it like halfway cleaned off. And then all of a sudden, here it comes. And I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, I didn't turn it on.
I will help you.
I'm gonna help you out here.
I'm your friend.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that it just bugs me though, that thing about the car. Like I can't tell you how many times, Caleb. I mean, it's been a lot. Like it's not just been once or twice. Like I don't know why I can't retain that in my mind, but I have made so many trips. Hey, I left this in the car. Go halfway across the house, out the garage to the car, get to the car. Stupid car, it's locked. You know, don't have no keys. Don't have my phone with me. You know, I can't like text say, "Hey, unlock the car." You know, and I'm like, you know, she grew up in Montgomery, so I mean, I get it. You know, I mean, I think it don't matter if you grow up in a area that's, you know, if crime is an issue or not, but just when it's in a highly populated area, you know, and you're living in a, you know, a community subdivision, lots of traffic. I get keeping things locked up. I mean, my goodness, for me, like I just not what I'm used to. The cows have yet to try to break in the house. So they have broke out of the fence and got in the yard, but they had never tried to come up the steps yet. So
never made it in the door yet.
No, they're not even knocked. So I mean,
oh man, that's awesome.
It really gripes my crack, buddy. I'm telling you. It gripes my crack.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You never heard that?
No, never heard that one.
I try to keep my sayings out of it.
You've got some unique ones.
Oh my goodness.
Oh well, anything else?
Sell of the week.
Hey, what'd you sell?
Well, let me pull it up real quick. I've got it. No, I've got it saved, but I don't have it on. Here we go.
Okay.
It was so I bought, you know, I told you about buying all those Danbury Mint items, you know, the big ones, the historical places. and I finally listed all of them, but one of them I got to clean on a little bit. But I got them all listed, and I've been selling slow. They've been starting to sell. I think I've sold 5 of them already, 4 or 5. But this one was of the Capitol building. So I sold the vintage Danbury Mint U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C., and it sold for $50 plus shipping.
Nice.
So, no, not huge money, but the more expensive ones still haven't sold. I do, I've got one I think I told you listed for like $350. So
yeah,
I got about 3 that are really good, and the rest of them are kind of in that wheelhouse. So
yeah, well, that's cool.
But it's big and bulky, so it's just great to get it out the door.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't. I didn't talk about. I talked about hats the other week. Did I? I didn't mention that I sold the Tennessee hat, did I?
No, you had the Tennessee one and the Green Bay one. I think were the 2 good ones you told me about.
The Tennessee one sold like that.
Really?
And actually, it listed for $100. Well, I had a buyer that sent an offer like 5% off, so it's like $95. They counter offered for 70, and I'm like, no. I know as quick as this is getting attention, it's worth 95, whatever. It's worth 100. I'll sell it. So I declined it, and I sent them a message, or I countered offered and sent them a message of like 92 or something, and said this has just got listed and it's well worth whatever. And no, I counter offered it. What was it? 90 maybe. I can't remember. But anyway, they said, well, the best they could do would be 75 or something. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, the best I could do would be 85. That's $15 off. And that's what had been listed for one day. And they said, okay, thank you. And that was it. And I thought, well, okay, that's fine. But about, I don't know, 2-3 hours later, they said, can you resend me the offer? I think I'll go ahead and take it for 85. And I'm like, well, I can't send you the offer because the system won't let me send you another offer, like right now. I said, but what I can do is if you really want it, if you're serious, I can go in and change the price and you can buy it for $85. And they said, yes, that's what they wanted to do. Now, in the past, having this had happened before, I know that it's a toss up whether somebody's going to come in and buy your hat or if somebody just got you to drop the price for no reason or whatever. They bought it like that. As soon as I dropped it, they bought it. So I sold it for 85 and I packed it pretty good. I was actually thinking about doing the thing you was talking about with the cardboard, making some stuff with that, but I had it packed pretty good enough that it wasn't moving around. Nothing was getting crushed. So sold that. And then the same day I sold this big horse head, like probably about a 18-inch horse head that hangs on the wall, like a decor type thing for $110. So that was my $250 day in like 3 or 4 items right there.
I got a question. Why is it that they always make all these things to display that are like horses' heads and heads of animals, but never make their butts?
I don't know.
I mean, nobody hangs a horse's butt on their wall, but they all hang horses' heads on their wall.
Well, I mean,
that type of stuff,
I don't know the answer to that question.
It's a good question, isn't it?
I don't think I'd want a horse's butt on my wall.
It's like, when I know these are dumb questions, I'm just saying, you ever think about stuff like this? Like when people get a mount done, they either get the full mount done or they get the head. Nobody ever gets the rear end done. Like, wouldn't that be funny if you walked into someone's house, they just had just the rear end of their deer,
Yeah,
mounted on the wall, just the rear end with the tail up,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, something to think about, right?
I ate the other half. This is the one I kept.
Maybe that's it. You eat the ham hocks. You don't need the head. Although I've seen some suspicious videos, man. I've seen some whole head animals boiled up and cooked. And they drop it on the plate and start digging in that thing. It's just gross, dude. Gross. Dude. You think sour milk is bad?
Oh Lord have mercy. Oh, that's
foul.
Dude. All right. I think that's going to do it right there.
Yeah, we better wrap it up. It's going off the rails.
Plumb off the rails. Well, all right. That's going to do it for episode 82. We appreciate you guys being here.
Yes, sir. It's been fun, guys.
Leave us a comment. Hit that thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, we sure do appreciate you. Until next time, this has been 2 Old Guys. We're out.